And with that, viewers, let's move on to another important development coming from the United States. Now, threats by the Trump administration to recall Senator Mark Kelly to active Navy duty and prosecute him under military law for advocating troops disobey illegal orders would encounter major hurdles due to strong troop due process rights. Now, Kelly and 5 other Democratic lawmakers with military or intelligence backgrounds released videos encouraging troops to disobey illegal orders, which Trump called dangerous and seditious. The FBI and the Department of Defense are investigating. Democrats have criticized the Trump's decision to target boats allegedly carrying drugs from Latin America and to deploy the National Guard to police U.S. cities. Now, in the video, Kelly told service members that Democrats' laws are clear and they can refuse illegal orders. And David K. Johnston, who's an American author, joins us live from New York. Thank you for joining us here at NewsX World. A very warm welcome to you. Now, I just want to understand from you, how is military law going to pose hurdles in the investigation against Kelly and other Democrat lawmakers?
Well, the law itself is actually the best friend that Mark Kelly has. Yesterday, my law class spent the whole hour going over this case. What Mark Kelly and the other Democrats said was that you may, can, or should refuse to follow illegal orders. Officers of the U.S. military are under an obligation not to follow illegal orders. There is no crime in that. The plan here by Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, is to reactivate the retired Captain Mark Kelly. He's 61 years old, and we can reactivate officers until they're 70 years old, and then court-martial him for sedition. Sedition under American law requires the proposed use of force against the United States. That's not at all what was being discussed here. But there's a significant risk in that Hegseth and cooperative general officers could stock the jury that will try Mark Kelly, if it gets to trial, with people who will, in fact, follow an illegal order to find Mark Kelly has done something illegal when he has not. That's the principal risk faced by Mark Kelly, who, by the way, is a decorated combat veteran. He flew 39 combat missions in the Gulf War 34 years ago. He's landed a jet fighter on an aircraft carrier almost 400 times.
All right. Now, I would also like you to explain to our viewers as to how is this confrontation between Trump and Mark Kelly going to have an impact on U.S.'s defense and military?
Well, I think many of the things the Trump administration is doing are damaging our military. Trump and his team have fired some of the most knowledgeable, most respected people, both in intelligence and in military strategy. They've been removing people in what seems to be a quite clear pattern of, if you're not a white male and nominally a Christian, you have a target on your back. In addition, there's another element here, and that is Kelly may be well catapulted into the White House by this. This may backfire on the Trump's team tremendously. Kelly is someone who would have all the historic credentials to get elected to the presidency should he want to run in 2028, and assuming we have elections in 2028 and have not become a full-blown dictatorship, not just the nascent dictatorship that we are right now.
Could you also help us understand what is it that's prompting Kelly and others to call these orders illegal, and how is the martial law really going to favor him and, put hurdles to Trump's case?
Well, Donald Trump has repeatedly ordered the United States Navy to attack and sink boats near Venezuela and Colombia, in the Pacific Ocean in the case of Colombia, that the White House says with no proof are drug boats. Under international law, the president has no authority to do this. Under American law, he has no authority to do this. And I'm not the only person pointing this out is a law professor. It's been pointed out by numerous retired military lawyers. It is, in the words of one of the former chief JAGs of the U.S. Navy, murder, plain and simple. And we know that at least 2 of the boats that were sunk, there are more than 80 people who've been killed, were fishermen who were out at night. And one of the Trump people, in fact, said, well, why would you be out fishing at night in the Caribbean? Oh, I don't know, because fish in the Caribbean go where it's dark during the daytime so predators don't eat them, and they go to the surface at night to feed. That's why. So what you're seeing here is an outrageous abuse of power and law. And were it not for a 2023 U.S. Supreme Court decision that former presidents may not be prosecuted for official acts, you would see, when Donald Trump leaves office, his indictment for murder.
All right, very strong remarks by you there, but I thank you for joining us here at NewsX World and giving your opinion. With that, viewers, let's move on. There's some news coming in from Brazil, where Supreme Court has orders former President Jair Bolsonaro to begin serving a 27-year, 3-month prison sentence for plotting a coup after the 2022 election. Now, Justice Alexander de Moraes rules that the court has reached its final judgment with no further appeals possible. Bolsonaro, who is 70 years old, has led a conspiracy to stay in power, including plans to arrest and execute Justice Moraes and to target President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and his running mate. The plot failed as military commanders refused to back him. Bolsonaro admitted attempting to tamper with his ankle monitor, blaming medicine-induced paranoia. Now, the court maintains and mandates full-time medical care during his detention in a federal jail in Brasilia. The Supreme Court also orders co-conspirators, including former ministers and military officials, to begin serving their sentences. Bolsonaro is barred from running for office until 2060, 8 years after his sentence ends. With that, let's move on. Now, Robert Deere, who was charged with killing 3 people and wounding 9 others in a 2015 shooting spree at a Colorado abortion clinic, has died in a prison medical center. According to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, courts had repeatedly deemed Robert Deere mentally unfit to stand trial. Deere has now reportedly died at the U.S. Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield, Missouri. He was in custody since his arrest immediately after the rampage on November 27 in 2015. State and federal prosecutors had sought for a decade to convict him for the attack on the Planned Parenthood clinic. Robert Deere admitted to the mass shooting in several state court hearings, including when he proclaimed himself a warrior for the babies, a reference to his anti-abortion beliefs. Federal prosecutors said Deere traveled to the clinic with a dozen firearms, propane tanks, and more than 500 rounds of ammunition. In 2016, the state court judge ruled him incompetent to stand for trial after the 2 state court appointed psychologists diagnosed him with a paranoid delusional disorder that they said rendered him mentally unfit. Authorities tried to restore Deere's mental fitness while he remained in custody. As recently as June 2024, a federal appeals court ruled he could be given antipsychotic medications against his will in hopes of establishing competency for trial. However, the defense experts said the drugs were unlikely to work, citing Deere's age and long duration of untreated psychosis. And that's a wrap on America 360, but do keep watching NewsX World.